Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of the Broadcast, where we give you bite-sized bits of best practices to help you be a better leader and a more effective communicator. Welcome to 2019. You're shaking off those cobwebs from the holidays. You're trying to get back into the grind. And what I want to do today is to help you set some goals, but then also to help be your accountability buddy as you get into 2019 and to show you the secrets of actually achieving goals. So let's look at the common resolution. Everybody wants to lose 10 pounds, right? The reason most people never achieve it is because they don't specifically say what steps they're going to take on a daily basis and for how many days, nor do they actually set an end point. For example, I will lose 10 pounds by February 15th or by March 1st. So the absence of setting a timeline and a meaningful outcome causes people to fail. We're going to apply this process to public relations and specifically to my area of expertise in crisis communications. And I'm going to share some slides with you, and I'm going to help you set some goals for 2019. Last week, you saw many articles online, and lots of PR publications had articles about the top crises in PR of 2018. And everybody writes one of these things. I didn't write one this year because I thought it was more meaningful to focus on the 2019 goals rather than just looking back and making fun of what happened in 2018. And as we go through this process, what I want you to think of in 2019 is achieving all 5 steps to effective crisis communications. We're going to talk about just one today, but I don't want you to wonder, what are the other 5? If you go to my website, braudcommunications.com, B-R-A-U-D Communications, know what I have for you? Something free. A free 5-part video series of the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. Every lesson is about a 10-minute video. That's like getting a whole webinar for free. And as a bonus, if you act now, I'm going to give you a free 15-minute phone call so I can start being your accountability buddy to help you plan and actually find a way to achieve the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. But the one that you need to do right now in quarter number 1 is your vulnerability assessment. You can do this today. You can do this tomorrow. You can do this next week. And it starts by looking back at what the trends were from last year. And here are the 5 things that I saw happening at an alarming rate, and that will continue to happen into 2019. First is IT hacks and the loss of personal information. Whether you're Facebook selling someone's data or whether you're a corporation who has your information hacked, this is going to continue, and it's going to damage your reputation and your revenue. Always remember, Gerard Braud defines a crisis as damage not just to reputation, but reputation and revenue. The reason I combine the two is because your executives think in terms of revenue. If you talk money, you get their attention. Reputation is soft. Money is what makes the world go round in the corporate environment. Number 2, social media gone wrong. For 10 years, I've been a maverick preaching about social media causing problems. Sure, it does a lot to build a brand, but you can build 10 years of equity for your brand on social media and lose it in 10 seconds. That's what concerns me. We saw it happen many times this year. Perfect example was Starbucks, where a citizen, not an employee, but a citizen, captured an employee kicking 2 black gentlemen out of a store because they weren't buying coffee. It went viral first on social media, then the mainstream media picked it up. It cost that company millions, not just a loss of reputation, but customers walked away and stopped buying their coffee. It cost them millions. The third type of crisis we saw a lot of was the result of the Me Too movement, executive misbehavior being called out, and this will continue into 2019. Fourth, sadly, workplace shootings and school shootings. This is a tremendous crisis that happens in a nanosecond. It then gets picked up on social media, and the social media narrative becomes the mainstream media narrative. And what we often see happen is spokespeople are late in coming out, so you lose control of the narrative. When you follow the 5 steps to effective crisis communications, that involves having pre-written news releases and a crisis communications plan. That means it gives you the words that you can communicate to the media actually still during the event, as well as after the event, as well as recognizing that this event is going to be in the news for 7 to 10 days. And then it's also going to be a political football. So it's a very difficult crisis to deal with. Sadly, we have to plan for it. And the fifth type is natural disasters, whether it's forest fires or hurricanes. These types of disasters are increasing in potency and frequency. And in many of these, like a winter storm, like you're going to have in January and February, or hurricanes, as we'll see later in the summer and into the fall, it requires you to communicate 3 times: before, during, and after. Manage expectations before helps to minimize the damage and the influx of customer inquiries afterwards. So planning for a before, during, and after strategy as part of your crisis communications plan for 2019 will be huge. In quarter 2, actually in the end of quarter 1, because the vulnerability assessment, you can do that in a few days. So that gives you, let's say, all of February and March of quarter 1, and then take all of quarter 2. So that's April, May, June, to work on your crisis communications plan and your pre-written news releases. And those pre-written news releases are based on what we saw in the vulnerability assessment. Then for quarter 3, plan on doing media training. You've got all those beautiful news releases written. Let's make sure your spokespersons can effectively deliver them. And then wrap up the year in quarter 4 with a crisis drill. And that's something, the media training and the drill is something you should do every year. But you got to get started somewhere. So let's get into getting into those 5 parts for effective crisis communications. Sign up for the free 5-part program. Get on the phone with me. Let's set some goals together, and I'll be your accountability buddy so that we can make sure that by the end of the year, you look back and go, wow, we did some great things and accomplished a lot of goals. Hope this helps you. I'm here when you need me. My name is Gerard Braud. Thanks for being a part of the broadcast.